Dr. Mchangizi here with your science moment. So my previous video at YouTube, moment number 113, was taken down by YouTube. It was censored by YouTube. It's my first after 113 videos. And their reason is of course unclear, but they just say that I violated their standards. Now this video, the previous video, this is moment 114, that was 113, that video was really not even arguing against anything per se. It wasn't arguing against lockdowns. It wasn't arguing against mask mandates or vaccines. It was making a meta point, which is that those who are proposing the novel untested policies are the ones that are responsible for acquiring the evidence that they are safe and effective. This goes to something that's called the precautionary principle. And the precautionary principle isn't that, oh my, there's something dangerous coming, a pandemic or whatever it might be, we should do whatever we can do to take precautions. That's not the precautionary principle. The precautionary principle is motivated by the basic understanding and wisdom that when folks make changes to policy from whatever the equilibrium is at the time, there are often consequences that are completely non-commonsensical. You can't anticipate those consequences. Society has found sometimes sweet spots of local optima that work pretty well. You start deviating them away from that, then you end up with deaths. You end up with economic crashes. You end up with many consequences that go across society in ways that none of us can anticipate. So to give some appreciation to that intuition, the precautionary principle sort of makes that a principle in itself, which just says the burden of evidence is on those who put forth the new untested policies. Now, what are the untested policies in these cases? The new policies are that people would have mask mandates, that there would be vaccines for children for a virus that's significantly less dangerous than flu for that demographic. I mean, it's more dangerous for older, demographics than flu. The sending kids home for significant parts of the last year. These are the novel policies. There is no reason why, and I had gone to a Moms for Liberty that I talked about, which is, again, you can't see here. You can go to my Instagram, find Mark Changizi at Instagram, you can watch it there. Why should it be the case that regular folks who have normal jobs, they're not scientists, they're not orators, they're not politicians, they're not lawyers, should have to show up and are given the burden of showing that these different kinds of policies have no harms or are ineffective? It can take potentially many years with careful controls to actually show that, okay, here's these children that had this done, and there's another control group, and we were to show that there's a 23% difference in a statistically significant. No, that takes years. The burden of evidence is not on the families to have to do this. The burden of evidence is on those that are pushing these new interventions, and they're fairly draconian ones. The argument has to change. It has to be turned upside down. Anytime in the future, don't sit there and feel responsible for giving all of these great arguments about why they're ineffective and dangerous. Just sit there and say, no, it's your job. You show me how this patently absurd thing is something that we should obviously do, is effective and safe. And then they need to provide the evidence. And you can just poke holes. No, that's not right. That's not right. That's not right. You poke holes in their arguments because it's incumbent upon them to do that. Now, I just made a meta point. And the question is, will YouTube censor this again? In which case, you can't even make meta points about the structure of argument and where the burden of evidence lies in society. Let's see what YouTube does. And that was your science moment.